The year 1901, when Liang Sicheng was born, was also the year when the Boxer Rebellion broke out and the 8 Allied powers occupied Beijing. Also in that year, the Japanese architect Ito Chuta arrived with photographer Kazumasa Ogawa to survey the Forbidden City. They took many photographs back to Japan with them, but they wouldn't be seen in public for more than 100 years. Finally, in April 2008, they featured in an exhibition of Ogawa's works in Tokyo. Ito Chuta made several trips to China, and all were for the same purpose, to study traditional Chinese architecture. However, his photographic equipment was heavy, bulky and expensive, so he often illustrated what he saw with sketches in his diary. The diary became the basis of a book he would eventually write, Chinese Architectural History.
这个画册是他移动冲太去中国1902年去考察的时候，他就一直带着，这是自己画的比较宝贵的东西。東中太が中国に関心を持ったのは、中国が好きであったからではなくて、日本の建築が西洋と同じ程度に進歩しているということを証明するために中国を調査したんですね。ですから先ほどの最初の質問に戻ると、伊藤忠太がなぜ中国に行ったかというと、西洋のギリシャから日本に伝播したものを証明するために、その中間にその痕跡が残っているかということをずっと探し出そうとしたんですね。
The 1930s saw several teams of Japanese architects visit China. Their surveys covered not only buildings, but also cave paintings and Buddhist relics. Like Ito Chuta, they had a point to prove, that Japanese, European and American architecture shared the same origin. The University of Tokyo houses a large archive of files detailing the surveys conducted by these Japanese architects in China.
这是那个关野真先生当时他在中国调查的，这是沈阳，然后他拿回来以后，在当时他们建筑系把它整理作为教材。
I was shocked by the extent of the damage suffered by these relics in the 12 years since I'd first seen them. Preserving them brooked no delay. Since Japanese culture came from China, it was incumbent on us to propose to the Chinese authorities a scheme for the immediate and effective preservation of these relics. In the meantime, we should go and conduct as many surveys as we could, as quickly as we could, and also establish museums in Japan to house relics from China. China was littered with architectural treasures whose importance and significance were yet to be recognized. The Japanese scholars made it their mission to identify and preserve these priceless relics.
那时候就保护的也不太好，非常不好。在他的笔记本里头这样写的，所以唐代是最好。他们认为唐代日本的东西都是唐代的东西后代，所以他们对唐代的东西有兴趣，其他好像没有什么兴趣。
By the time China founded its first architectural study institute, Japanese scholars had already published a number of books about ancient Chinese buildings. In 1925, Ito Chuta completed his book, Chinese Architecture. In Japan, it was considered a key work in describing the decline of Tang architecture. To Ito Chuta, the architectural history of China was Tang-style architecture.
所以日本的学者介入， 就有一个非常大的不同，就是让中国这些学者认识到，就是当时他们讲过一些话，就是有可能我们的自己的这种学问完全被人家拿走，就是我们自己最后自己说不清楚。因为日本的很多学者，像长盘大定啊、管野真啊、伊东忠太啊，他们的研究水准平心而论还是比较高的。就从今天来看，很多论点都还是很有价值。最明显的是，当时来讲跟当时的欧洲人比，要高出一截，要高出一截。所以这个刺激就非常，我认为是非常直接的，所以导致中国的这些学者就已经不能再等待下去。
Ito Chuta made a speech on Chinese architecture at the opening of a school under the Society for the Study of Chinese Architecture. By this time in his 60s, he once again upset his Chinese counterparts when he said, "It is, of course, the Chinese people's obligation to complete this huge mission. Yet Japanese scholars feel obliged to get involved because Japanese architecture owes much of its progress to Chinese architecture. My suggestion is that China focus on historical records, while Japan focuses on studying China's relics." The fact was that a Sino-Japanese joint survey was about to begin. The Japanese side had a number of advantages, chief of which was a systematic approach to studying archaeology that included tried and tested investigation methods, professional photographers, and specialist surveyors. As a result, during the joint survey, the Japanese scholars were able to collect first-hand information, while their Chinese counterparts were relegated to scouring ancient books for information.
我们现在真的是很难评价他这个建议是中肯的还是有什么险恶用心的。但是在中国学者来讲，我觉得任何中国人都不能接受的。其实这个话是对中国，尤其对梁思成最大的刺激。
Modern scholars draw their conclusions from the facts. To them, a theory must be backed up by facts. Don't people say seeing is believing? And this is particularly true when it comes to architectural studies. There's an abundance of historical records, but many of these records are written in a flowery kind of language that includes highly literary descriptions that are as much musical as accurate. Even when one has read thousands of descriptions of an ancient building, a clear image of that building may still not have emerged. To make progress, one must leave the studio and take up studies in the field. At the time, Liang Sicheng was just 30 years old, but he was ambitious, and he was planning to write a book covering the entire history of Chinese architecture. The task would take him the rest of his life.